هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا أما بعد حياكم الله إخوان. Let's start. طيب, if someone were to ask بما عرفت ربك, how did you come to know your Lord? What would you say? How did you come to know your Lord?
What's the question?
How, if someone asked, how do you come to know your Lord? How did you know your Lord? What makes you say the Lord?
Through fitrah, looking at the signs of Allah, and for the Quran.
طيب. Look at the signs, ayat wa makhluqat. Okay, so look at the signs of Allah. طيب, ayat, what are his ayat? How many types of ayat are there?
Any ayat?
Ayat of Allah, how many types?
Three.
Three, okay, give me one. Okay. Next one. Okay. So, ayat of Allah, how many are there? Two. Okay, give me one. Okay. Come around.
Is one of the signs of Allah His creation?
Say again.
His creation, that the moon and the sun.
Okay, we see ayat, how many types are there?
Two.
Give me one, inshallah.
Is one of the
Okay, describe me.
miracles.
You talking about ayat, there's a name for it. Do you remember the name?
كونية and شرعية.
كونية and شرعية. كونية is the one.
مخلوقات.
مخلوقات, the stars and the moon, night and the day. These are the creation basically. Universal sign we say. That is ayatul makhluqat, ayatul kawniyah. And the second one,
شرعية.
give me example.
Is it the Quran and Sunnah?
Okay, Quran. The Quran is ayah of Allah. It's miracle of Allah Azza wa Jal. So Quran is one of the ayah of Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب. So if someone says بآياته ومخلوقاته, what's the difference between ayat and makhluqat? Brother Azhar.
Wrongly.
What's the difference between it?
Wrongly.
That's Azhar and this is
Ahsan.
Ahsan. طيب, what's the difference between ayat and makhluqat? Go on.
So makhluqat is what Allah created, and the Quran is not created, so it can't be makhluqat.
Okay, that's good. So, okay, so ayat is what?
The Quran, and makhluqat is what Allah created.
Okay, so ayat, Quran is only ayat, there's no any other ayat?
That's good. Is makhluqat.
Go on.
مخلوقات are all ayat.
Mm.
So it's like the same thing kind of.
Azhar Kareem, what's it? Ayatihi or makhluqati, what's the difference?
I think they're the same.
They're the same, yeah. Because ayat, from ayat of Allah, Al-Quran, okay, we understand that it's not created, but then we got ayat which are stars and the moon, night and the day, mentioned, okay? Makhluqat, seven heavens and the earth, but they're all creation of Allah Azza wa Jal, okay? So they are same, ayat and makhluqat, they are same, yeah.
That's a good point you made though. So, the Quran is ayat.
Yeah.
So if you say ayat and makhluqat are the same, wouldn't that be a problem?
No, but if you mean the stars and the moon, night and the day, they're the same, isn't it? But Quran is excluded from that. We're not mentioning Quran. طيب. We say ayatul kawniyah. Ayatul kawniyah and makhluqat, the same. Ayatul shar'iyah, which is not from the creation. In the Quran, I said, أَلَا لَهُ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ. أَلَا لَهُ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ. Isn't it to Allah belong the khalq, the creation, the amr in the Quran? So they're two different things. طيب. We understand Allah talks about He created the heaven and the earth 6 days. He caused then He rose above the throne, and He spoke about night and the day. They cover each other. And he mentioned all this okay, sun and the moon and the stars. They follow they follow the commandments of Allah. To Allah belong the creation and the command. Then Allah said, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. Okay, what do we learn from this ayah? Allah talks about what? What is He talking about? Yeah. He goes above the arsh, and then He talks about He flattened the earth and all the night and the day, the sun and the moon. He talks about which tawhid is this? Rububiyyah, isn't it? Then Allah said, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. Do not make partners with Allah Azza wa Jal. So shows that Allah is the Lord. He is the Lord of the heaven and the earth. Worship Him alone. Okay, He deserves the worship. That's what we're trying to say. So let's start, inshallah. Okay, who said this? Al-Khaliqu lihadhi al-ashya huwa al-mustahiq lil-ibadah. The creator of all this deserves to be worshipped alone. Who said this?
Ibn Kathir.
Ibn Kathir. MashaAllah. طيب. Shaykhul-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab rahimahullah said, وأنواع العبادة التي أمر الله بها مثل الإسلام والإيمان والإحسان ومنه الدعاء والخوف والرجاء والتوكل والرغبة والرهبة والخشوع والخشية والإنابة والاستعانة والاستعاذة والاستغاثة والذبح والنذر وغير ذلك من العبادة التي أمر الله بها. So types of worship that Allah commands us, like Islam, Iman wal Ihsan. Okay, these are all worship. Then from them is dua, khawf, fear, raja, hope, tawakkul, trust, raghba wa rahba, hope and fear, khushu, humiliation, humbleness, wal inaba, wal isti'ana. Inaba is earning, is form of tawbah, turning back to Allah Azza wa Jal. Isti'ana, seeking Allah's aid, help. Isti'adha, seeking Allah's protection. Dhabh wa nadhr, a sacrifice and vow. And other worship that Allah has commanded us with. So these are some of the worship that Shaykhul-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab is mentioning. It doesn't mean it's only these ones. The worships are huge. There's so many types of ibadah. But these are some of the ones he has mentioned. طيب, أنواع العبادة. Types of ibadah. So what do we understand of ibadah? We explain what is ibadah. Worship is, we've gave the definition of worship in previous lessons. Just a reminder, عبادة is اسم جامع لكل ما يحب الله ويرضاه من الأقوال والأعمال ظاهرا وباطنا. It is everything that Allah is happy with and He loves, from statement, action, apparent or hidden. Okay, that's ibadah. Okay, and Ibn al-Qayyim says that ibadah of Allah Azza wa Jal are categorized in three categories. Worship of the heart and the tongue and the limbs. Okay, so we have worship of the heart. Okay, we have worship of the heart, such as we covered it before: love of Allah, hope of Allah, trust of Allah Azza wa Jal, fear of Allah. Okay, these are worship of the heart. Okay, the action of the heart. Okay, these are ubudiyah of Allah. This is servitude to Allah. We worship Allah, we love Allah, we fear Him, we hope for Allah, hope for His mercy. These are all action of the heart. Okay, then you have statement of the heart, which is to have a belief to believe Allah is the one and only Lord of the heaven and the earth, to believe He deserves the worship, to believe in La ilaha illallah. This is saying of the heart. Okay, remember this, inshallah. Then, so you go saying of the heart, then you go saying of the tongue, which is worship of the tongue, and that is reading Quran, azkar, saying La ilaha illallah to become a Muslim, anything that relates to the tongue. Okay, this is worship of the tongue. Then you go worship of the limbs, which is salah, hajj, zakat, jihad, things like that. Carrying somebody's, maybe good or something, shopping. This is worship of the limbs. Walking to the masjid for salah, these are all worship of the limbs. So Shaykhul-Islam said that أن الإيمان والدين مبني على أن الإيمان والدين مبني على قولا وعملا. He said that the deen and iman built on statement action. Then he said قول اللسان والقلب, statement of the tongue and statement of the heart. Then he said عمل القلب وعمل الجوارح, and action of the tongue, of the heart, and action of the limbs. So he mentioned this, that our deen based on these things, okay, based on all that. So here, أنواع العبادة التي أمر الله بها, the types of worship which Allah has commanded us with is Islam, Iman, Ihsan. We'll cover this inshallah later on. Let's go into, among them is ad-du'a. Okay, let's talk about dua. Now, what is dua? Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah explains ad-du'a. He says, هو ما طلب الداعي ما ينفع وما يكشف ما يضره. Okay, he said that, Ibn al-Qayyim said that ad-du'a is when the slave of Allah, he requests that will benefit him and to push away some that will harm him. It's a request. Dua is a talab, is a request from Allah Azza wa Jal, from a slave to Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب, that's what dua is. Now dua in the Quran, when Allah Azza wa Jal commands us, okay, when Allah commands us, dua al-ibadah, dua al-mas'ala, okay. Dua al-ibadah, which is an hadith of Prophet ﷺ, ad-du'a huwa al-ibadah. Okay? So dua al-ibadah is what? Anything that relates to worship is a form of dua. And that is that talab al-thawab, that when we worship Allah Azza wa Jal, any form of worship we do, we require Allah Azza wa Jal, we request Allah, we seek Allah Azza wa Jal to reward us for that act. Hajj, salah, wa zakat, any form of worship that you do, we ask Allah to accept from us, we ask Allah to reward us for that act of ibadah. So, dua al-ibadah is only for Allah Azza wa Jal. Why? Because we do not ask anyone other than Allah to reward us for any form of ibadah. Sadaqah, who can give you reward if Allah doesn't give you the reward? We seek that from Allah Azza wa Jal. We say sometime in the dua, نسأل الله يتقبل منا, we ask Allah to accept from us. طيب, seeking knowledge is a form of ibadah. We ask Allah to accept from us, and we ask Allah to reward us for this act. طيب. So dua al-ibadah and dua al-mas'ala. Dua al-mas'ala, three types. One is, whose phone is that ringing? Oh, he's gone. طيب. طيب. So dua al-mas'ala, which is the first category, which known as asking for your needs, okay, and that could be anything you need, or need for Allah to cure you, or anything that no one can help you or fulfill your need, your request, except Allah Azza wa Jal, okay, and that if you turn that other than Allah, then it considered to be major shirk. Like somebody righteous, a saint or dead, whatever, cannot aid you or help you or benefit you, or to ask him to cure you, whatever, something like that, then this is considered to be a major shirk, and this request is only for Allah Azza wa Jal. Second type of request for your need is that going to, so the first one is only for Allah Azza wa Jal. Second one, which is common, a lot of people do that among the Muslims, they have believed that you can go to saint, ask for need, ask for help, okay, and that is major kufr. That is major kufr. To go to a dead, or somebody is in front of you, far away, okay, cannot aid you, help you, to ask that saint to help you, protect you, then this is considered to be major shirk. A lot of Muslims, they believe this awliya of Allah can benefit you. Some of the Muslims, they believe, Sufis, they believe that the ulama, the scholars, they have power, they have authority over the kaun, over the creations. They control the stars and the moon. They believe that. They have the authority. They have some sort of special power or something. They give, because they believe it's the awliya of Allah. He has the miracle, so he has control of the heaven and earth. Billah. So people do give the rububiyyah of Allah to the creations. Okay, so this is major shirk. The last one is the dua, which is allowed from a human being to another human being. The conditions are that the person you're calling must be hadir, qadir, and hay. Hadir, he must be present. Qadir, he's able to help you, and he must be alive. Okay, so if you have a baby in front of you, will that fulfill the condition? His baby is alive, he's high, but it's not qadir. Okay, we're not able to aid you, support you, help you. So these are the dua. The ulama says that any ayah in the Quran that talks about dua include dua al-ibadah and dua al-mas'ala. طيب يا إخوان. Now, in the Quran, there are many verses in the Quran. Allah commands us to make dua to Him alone. Okay? Because the dua is ibadah, and to turn dua other than Allah Azza wa Jal, it is not allowed. It is not allowed, yes. طيب, now inshallah, because we have mentioned the category of dua now, alhamdulillah, we've understood that. Now let's talk about fadl dua. There are books are written about dua, explaining what really dua is, subhanallah, a lot of benefits in these books. Now, here, اذكر فضل الدعاء. طيب, I'm going to mention some of the virtue of dua. And there's so many ayah in the Quran and Hadith that talks about virtue of dua. One of the verse Allah commands us, وَقَالْ رَبُّكُمْ أُدْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. And your Lord said, invoke me, I'll respond to your dua. This is fadl dua. Why is fadl dua? Allah commands us to make dua to Him. And dua is ibadah. And we only ask Allah. We don't ask anybody else. Okay? We don't ask anyone to make dua other than Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب إخوان, so when there's a command, no, this is ibadah. Command to do or command to leave. So here is a command from Allah Azza wa Jal to ask Him to make dua. Ud'uni. So that mean ud'uni, dua al-ibadah and dua al-mas'ala. Okay? You're making dua to Allah to accept your ibadah. You're making dua to Allah Azza wa Jal to accept your worship. You're also making dua to Allah in your need, for your needs. Okay? Ud'uni, that include mas'ala and ibadah. Both include in there. Okay, so for example, you have Ayyub alayhi salam, when he was tested 18 years of the illness, he turned back to who? Who did ask? Allah. Okay, and Allah directed him what to do. That's dua al-mas'ala. He asked Allah for his need, which is to cure him, and Allah cured Ayyub alayhi salam. The 18 years, the trial he went through. Okay, so ud'uni, call on me, for what? For anything that no one can help except Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, you're going through a trial, whatever trial, ask Allah. Okay, so ud'uni, number one, it's command from Allah, shows the wajib. Okay, ud'uni, it's not optional, it's a command. Anything command from Allah is wajib. Call on me for what? For your a'mal to be accepted, for your reward. Ask me, I'll give it to you. Okay, secondly, call on me for your need, I'll give it to you. Risk, your health, whatever. Someone's married, don't have children, ask Allah to give it to you. Ask Allah. So Allah will provide you. He's the Razzaq. Hadith of Prophet ﷺ, لَيْسَ شَيْء أَكْرَمُ عَلَى اللَّهِ مِنَ الدُّعَاءِ. Hadith of Abu radiallahu anhu. Nothing more noble to Allah than to make dua to Allah Azza wa Jalla. When you don't make dua, it's like you don't need Allah. Salah is a form of dua as well, but someone don't raise their hand to Allah, shows it's like you don't need Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah doesn't need us, but it's like we don't need Allah, we don't need His forgiveness. And Allah gets upset. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ أَن يُسْأَلْ. Hadith ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, the Prophet says that indeed Allah loved to be asked. He loved. When you ask Him, He loves it. When you ask a human being, when you ask too much, they get fed up of it. Leave me alone, I had enough of you. And they turn away. They get upset. That's human being. In nature, they are like that. But Allah Azza wa Jalla is not. Allah is vast. And His generosity is vast. Allah Azza wa Jalla like to be asked. He loves when you ask Him. And nothing noble than making dua to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Okay? So dua is powerful, ikhwan. It's very powerful. We all have our decree is written by Allah Azza wa Jal. It's written, isn't it? And it cannot be removed. But the virtue of dua, he says, وَلَا يَرُدُّ الْقَدْرِ إِلَّا الدُّعَاء. That your decree cannot be changed except through dua. So, if there's something in your life, there's a catastrophe you're going to face, whatever, but this cannot be changed. It's decreed. But if you make dua, Allah can remove that for you. لا يرد القدر إلا الدعاء. Dua will remove this catastrophe that you're going to go through. So dua is very powerful, my brothers. It's very powerful. Is accepted. Like Prophet said, اتقوا دعوة المظلوم. Fear the dua of the oppressed one. When you oppress somebody, fear his dua. Because Prophet said, فَإِنَّ لَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ بَيْنَ اللَّهِ حِجَابٍ. There is nothing between him and Allah, barrier. Allah will accept his dua. Dua of a madhloom is accepted by Allah. So that's how powerful dua of madhloom is. This dua could be accepted but straight away. Or in lifetime, one day he will get this. This dua will become reality on a person. So yeah, dua is very powerful, my brothers. طيب. So we have to make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? We don't make dua to other than Allah. Okay? Now, shurut dua, the condition of dua when we make. Okay? First of all, when we make dua, that we make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. And we do not make dua other than Allah. Okay? And we've mentioned this before. It might sound very easy to us, but believe me, a lot of Muslims don't understand this. When you go to Hajj, when you go to places like that, they call other than Allah. They seek blessing other than Allah. They think creation can bless them. Tabarruk. These things like that. فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. Do not associate partners with Allah Azza wa Jalla. فَلَا تَدْعُ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ. Okay? Do not make dua beside Allah Azza wa Jal. So there are many verses in the Quran where Allah commands us to make dua to Him. The first condition is that we make dua to Allah alone. Okay? Now, second one, when we make dua, how do we make dua? Do we ask Allah directly or do we go to intermediaries? Okay, I'm going to ask Allah. Yes, I'm going to ask Allah, but I'm a sinner. I'm going to go through Muhammad. I'm going through righteous man. Inshallah, Allah will accept me. Because I'm a sinner, I'm not going to ask Allah directly. I'm going to ask through the righteous. So when you tell him, brother, it's haram, you say, literally people say, I'm going to Rasulullah. He's the best of the mankind. Nabiullah. I'm not going through idols. What's wrong with that? You say, Prophet died. Did the companion ask Rasulullah or ask Allah through Muhammad? Did they ever go to Muhammad to make dua for them? No. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam passed away. We don't do that. So people, shaitan plays with the mind to cause them to make them fall into shirk. They make you feel bad. That, oh no, you're not asking Rasulullah through, you're not asking Allah through Muhammad, then you belittling Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. A prophet which is sinless, how can you not ask Muhammad? Subhanallah. So they make you feel bad. طيب, tawassul, which is wasila, Allah said in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَابْتَغُوا إِلَيْهِ وَسِيلًا. All those who believe, seek to Allah wasila. Look. Allah said, Allah's telling us to seek wasila. But then we say, brother, what does this wasila mean here? وَابْتَغُوا إِلَيْهِ وَسِيلًا is أعمال الصالحات. Worship. That's your wasila to Allah. Righteous action. He's not asking you to go to Muhammad, go to Abdul Qadir Jilani, go to Shah Jalal. Ask Allah directly. But this wasila here mean is what? أعمال الصالحات. Righteous action. Because when you do righteous action, worship Allah, that will cause you to enter Jannah. Allah wants you to worship Him. And this wasila is, we have to do it through worship, not directly going to awliya. La. Our a'mal is the wasila, tawassul. Now Shaykhul-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah has a book, at-tawassul, and he said tawassul are two types. One of them is that you have to believe. If you don't believe, you're a kafir. And the other one, if you believe, you're a kafir as well. So either way, you become disbeliever. So first one is tawassul. You have to believe this tawassul, wasila. And that Muhammad is a wasila between us and Allah. Okay? Allah spoke to us through Muhammad, through the wahi. So he's the middle person, yani, he receives the wahi from Allah and he will convey to the slave. He will convey to the companion. And then eventually, we have the Quran. So he's the intermediary, he's the middle person between us and Allah. So this we have to believe that it's wajib. It's part of Aqidah to believe this tawassul. That Muhammad is intermediary between us and Allah. Okay? We have to believe that that's wajib. Second one is that if you believe it is a major kufr. That is to believe that you can do tawassul to Allah through righteous people, the dead, idol, whatever. And that was the shirk of the mushrik of the Quraysh. And this, to believe that, it is major shirk. Okay? So tawassul to Allah, how do we make tawassul to Allah Azza wa Jal? Tawassul is to Allah through names and attributes. Tawassul means to request, make dua, to ask Allah. Tawassul, yatawassal, to ask Allah, whatever your request. Natawassal bi asma'ihi wa sifatihi. We ask Allah with names and attributes. That's what form of tawassul to Allah. Allah says, وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوا بِهَا. To Allah belong the beautiful name, call by this name. And these are tawassul, halal tawassul. These are halal. Okay? So we ask Allah, we make tawassul to Allah by His names. We make dua to Allah through His names, by His names. So I don't know if I gave this example before. For example, to say, Ya Ar-Rahman, irhamni, Ya Ar-Razzaq, irziqni, or the provider, provide me, or the most merciful, have mercy on me. This is tawassul to Allah by His names. And we should use these names to make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? So first, by names and attributes. And the Prophet will do that. And they will make dua to Allah by his names. Using his names and come close to Allah Azza wa Jal. Tawassul bi a'mal salihat. Okay? Making tawassul to Allah with names or with righteous actions. Righteous action. So we can ask Allah with a righteous action. And this is also allowed. And Allah mentioned in the Quran, الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا إِنَّنَا آمَنَّا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Allah said, الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا إِنَّنَا آمَنَّا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. طيب. As for those who says that our Lord, indeed we have believed, so forgive our sin and save us from the hellfire. Where is the shahid? The shahid is رَبَّنَا آمَنَّا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا. Oh Lord, we believe, so forgive us. So he is making tawassul to Allah with iman. Okay, رَبَّنَا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا. Okay, so here, إِنَّنَا آمَنَّا, indeed we believed, thus belief that shows action of the heart. Okay, that's أعمال الصالحات. That's the righteous action. Using the righteous action to ask Allah to forgive you. You can say, رَبَّنَا إِنَّنَا آمَنَّا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Okay? Or you can say, رَبَّنَا آمَنَّا بِكَ فَاهْدِنِي. Oh Allah, we believed in you, guide us. So you can use your a'mal, actions, to make tawassul to Allah Azza wa Jal. There are many other verses. Another one, Allah said, فَآمَنَّا رَبَّنَا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا. So we believed in your Lord, we believe in you, our Lord, so forgive us. So using the iman to ask Allah to forgive you. And believing in Allah Azza wa Jal is the action of the heart. So using your action to ask Allah to forgive your sin. Allah said, the third one is التوسل إلى الله بالدعاء رجل صالح. Okay, that you can make tawassul to Allah by using a righteous person. Okay, and the righteous person you are making tawassul to with is he must be Haadi, Qadir and Hayy. He must be hadir, he must be present in front of you, okay? He must be alive, and he must be qadir, able to help you. Now, there's a hadith of Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu, that Anas came, Prophet was giving khutbah Yawm al-Jum'ah, Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu comes, and he says, Ya Rasulullah, everything is dying, dried up basically, everything is dying. Please make dua to Allah to send down the rain. So Prophet made the dua, he's making tawassul to by Rajul Salih, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he asking Allah to make dua, he asked Muhammad to make dua to Allah to send down the rain. And he made the dua, and it was raining so heavily for 1 week. Next Friday, Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu reports that he was asked again to remove the rain because everything is flooded. So that's tawassul bi rajul salih. So he was hayy, was hadir, was there, qadir, was able to do that. So these three conditions have to be met. Also, that other conditions, other incident that happened after the death of Prophet ﷺ, the Sahabas will make tawassul to righteous person like Abbas. Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, he says that, oh Allah, we used to ask you through Muhammad. Okay? After his death, now we ask him with making tawassul, Ammu Rasulillah, the uncle of Prophet ﷺ. So you will say, Ya Abbas, qum fat'ulana. Abbas, get up and make dua for us. So he will make, that's tawassul bi rajul salih. They asked Muawiyah as well, many other companions. But the point we're trying to make is that they never went to Prophet ﷺ because he's passed away. You never see from the action of the Prophet ﷺ, action of the companions, that after death of Prophet ﷺ, they went to Prophet and make dua to him. No, they never did that. You never find in the companion they did that. The only thing they did is they went to the Prophet ﷺ and they gave him salam. Okay? I think there's a hadith, but it's weak hadith. Weak hadith. So my brothers, these are the condition of making tawassul to Allah Azza wa Jal. And these are the ones we can practice by names and attributes, with the righteous action, okay, and Rajulun Salih. There's nothing other than this three, okay. There's nothing other than these three. These are only three tawassul we can practice in a Sharia of Allah Azza wa Jal. Tayyib, that's one of the things we've learned about dua. Also, part of dua is that when we make dua, we should not be hastened. Okay? If someone make dua and say, Allah, I made dua, no, Allah never accepted for the last 2 years. You know, we don't become mustajil. We shouldn't rush into it. Yani, lose hope of Allah. Oh, I made dua, Allah not accepting my dua. I requested this from Allah, Allah not giving it to me. Maybe it's not, number one, it could maybe not good for you. Number two, maybe it's good for you, but not now. Okay? When the right time comes, people respond to your dua. You know? So, inshallah. So, حديث أبو رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يستجاب لأحدكم من لم يعجل ويقول دعوت فلم يستجب لي. That your dua of one of you is accepted by Allah Azza wa Jal as long as he does not hasten. And he said, I made dua, Allah did not respond to my dua. Okay? So we cannot be isti'jal, you cannot rush into it. This is from shaitan. Oh, look, you made dua to your Lord, you're not accepting your Lord. Your Lord not answering your dua, people don't like you. You know, stop making dua. Just leave it. You know, this is not, your Lord is not helping you. This is, so shaitan can confuse you and yadu billah. So isti'jal is not part of dua. We don't make isti'jal. Make dua and inshallah put trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. Tayyib. Another thing part of dua is that husnul dhan billah. This is very important. Husnul dhan. Now, when we make dua, we have to have good opinion of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, have good opinion, yeah. Things like, will Allah forgive me? I've committed so much sins. Allah's not going to forgive me anymore. You lose trust of Allah. You commit so much sins and you eventually lose hope of Allah. You become despair. Okay, you have bad thought about Allah. you say, Allah's not going to forgive me. And nothing worse than that. That's one of the worst sins that you can commit. To believe that Allah cannot forgive you. Yadu billah. Believe that Allah cannot forgive you. La ilaha illallah. So, husnul dhan billah is part of aqidah. Okay? For example, someone is about to die or something. He's going to pass away, the Muslim brother. Now, this is the time for him to raise the hope of Allah. He can't start thinking, oh, Allah's not going to forgive me now. All the sin that I've committed, Allah's not going to forgive me. Yeah, that's the worst thing you can do, the worst sin you can do. If someone don't have knowledge of the deen and believe that Allah's not going to forgive me, there's nothing worse than that. Because you put Allah in a place that He's not going to forgive you. Subhanallah. So, we should have a good opinion of Allah Azza wa Jal. And the bad opinion, who are the bad opinion? Allah described in the Quran, these are the munafiqun. The munafiqun, the hypocrites, they never have good opinion of Allah Azza wa Jal. They're bad opinions. And the Salaf made statement like, if you become despair of mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal, then you might stop worshipping Allah, you might continue to commit the sin. Subhanallah, it's dangerous path to take. And a lot of people believe that they make statement like, I've committed so much sin, can Allah forgive me? Will Allah forgive me? A'udhu billah. Do you think Allah cannot forgive you? So, only way we can save ourselves from this bad opinion of Allah is to learn about the deen. Learn about aqidah. Learn who Allah is. He's al-Ghafur, al-Afu, al-Rahman. Allah forgave a man's face, Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah. His sin goes up to the eye, as far as the eye can see. Allah forgives that person. You're telling me Allah cannot forgive? SubhanAllah, a man killed 99 people, eventually he killed 100 people. Allah forgave him. Allah forgave that person. The sin that is committed. A man he committed so much sin. And he said to the children, when I die, burn my body and throw the ashes away. Okay? So they did that. So he thinks, so I cannot be asked anymore. That's a big statement to make. So what happened? Allah causes the ash to come together. And Allah said to him, he didn't know. That's one of the things, the excuse of ignorance. He was an ignorant man. So Allah said, why did you do that? He said, oh Allah, I feared your punishment. Allah forgave him. Allah forgave him. Allah will say to a person, Yawm al-Qiyamah, enter Jannah, my slave, because of my mercy. He will say, La, I'm not going to enter Jannah because of your mercy. But he said, I want to enter Jannah because of my action. My action in Jannah, I want to go. He said, okay then. So Allah put his action and equal to Jannah. He doesn't weigh anything. So his action become low. So go to hellfire then. He said, Ya Allah, enter me Jannah with your mercy. He said, go enter Jannah with mercy. Look how merciful Allah is. Subhanallah. So, for you to despair of Allah's mercy, Allah will not forgive. You should lie against Allah. You should lie against Allah. Allah says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, Ya ibadiya alladhina asrafu ala anfusihim, la taqnatu min rahmatillah, inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba jami'a. O my slave, those of you who done a lot of sins, do not become despair of my mercy. Indeed, I forgive all sins. Jami'a. All sins Allah forgives. Okay? Even shirk He forgives. If a person commits shirk billah azza wa jalla in dunya, major shirk, and if you sincerely make tawbah to Allah, Allah will forgive him. When Allah said He will not forgive shirk, but He forgive anything less than that, that's the Yawm al-Qiyamah. But in dunya, there is no sin that Allah doesn't forgive. He forgives all the sins. As long as a person turns to Allah with repentance. And because Allah have to forgive. He doesn't have to. He's the forgiver. He's the Lord of the heaven and earth. He's al-Af. He's al-Ghafur. He's al-Rahman. That's Allah Azza wa Jal. He's going to forgive, and the door of Tawbah is open for the people. So husnul dhan billah, having good opinion of Allah Azza wa Jal, is a very important thing. It's part of a belief. عن أبي رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ادعوا الله وأنتم موقنون بالإجابة. Make dua to Allah and have certainty that Allah will accept your dua. Okay? You don't make dua and you're doubting. will Allah accept my dua? I made dua to Allah to take me to Hajj. I don't know if Allah will accept it. You can't have that. You can't have that mentality. Allah make dua, Allah will take you to Hajj. You have to have certainty. Ask Allah to forgive you. Forgive you. Why are you doubting it? Sufyan al-Thawri said about Yawm al-Arafah. He said that the worst sin Yawm al-Arafah is the person goes to Yawm al-Arafah, make dua to Allah, and he doubts, will Allah forgive him? The worst crime you can do. You're standing Yawm al-Arafah, you're asking Allah to forgive you, then you're doubting, will Allah forgive me? You don't know your Lord. You have no certainty about your Lord. To have that belief, doubting it, a'udhu billah. Why do you come to Hajj then? So we cannot have a doubt. We cannot doubt Allah's forgiveness. He is the forgiver. Okay? But saying that, having to say that, yes, we ask Allah to forgive us, but you have to take the means, isn't it? Worship Allah. You can't disobey Allah and then Allah will forgive me. But you're not asking Allah to forgive you. So we get out of this mentality that, inshallah, Allah forgive me. Allah forgive me. But don't worship Allah. You're not asking Allah to forgive you. You're not taking the means to come close to Allah. So just saying Allah will forgive me is not enough. What have you done to seek Allah's forgiveness? So yes, we have to make dua to Allah and be certain in that dua, not doubting it. Okay? Don't doubt the dua of Allah, your dua to Allah. Okay? Also hadith, لا يموتن أحدكم إلا حتى يحسن بالله ظن. Okay? None of you should die until you have a good opinion of Allah Azza wa Jal. So when you're about to die, we're all going to face death one day. And we ask Allah to go husnul khatima, a good ending. So when we're about to die, we all have to have good opinion about Allah Azza wa Jal. Raise your hope of Allah. At the same time, you fear the punishment, but you have to raise the hope of Allah, that Allah will forgive you. Not Allah's not going to forgive me anymore, I'm going to die. This is bad. A person ignorant will say that, but a person of knowledgeable person who knows the deen of Allah will say, I have 100% faith that Allah will forgive my sin. And I fear His punishment. Okay? That's the hope you have to have before we die. That Allah is the forgiver. But we have to ask Allah to forgive us, and we have to worship Allah and die upon this. It's not enough just to have hope of Allah without worshipping Him. But yet, He can forgive you. No problem. He can forgive you. But we have to do our job. Okay? So we should not die until we have good opinion of Allah Azza wa Jal. Never die. Never think Allah is not going to forgive me. Okay? He's Al-Ghafur. He's Al-Afu. Why we have such belief about Allah Azza wa Jal? Okay? So, it's how we think about Allah. If we think Allah forgive, He'll forgive. If we think Allah will not forgive us, subhanallah, Allah will not forgive us. That's how it's going to be. So we have to believe Allah is the forgiver. In the Hadith Qudsi, Allah said, أَنَا عِنْدِي ظَنِّي عَبْدِ بِي وَأَنَا مَعُهُ حَيْثُ يَذْكُرُنِي. Yeah, Allah said in the Hadith Qudsi that I am with my slave the way he thinks of me. If he thinks good of me, then I will remember him like that. I'll be with him like that. The Hadith continues, but if he think other than that, I will be like that to him. So I am with my slave the way he think of me. So if he thinks of me that I'm a forgiver, then I'll forgive him. Okay? But if he thinks of me I'm not a forgiver, then what do you expect? So in dua, when we make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal, we have to have good opinion of Allah. Allah will forgive us. Allah will accept our dua. Okay? Not two-minded. Okay? I made a dua, but I don't think Allah will accept it. SubhanAllah. What kind of mentality is this? What kind of belief is this? Okay? As I said, this important belief, we have to take in mind. What time is
5 minutes left.
Okay, so inshallah we continue with the dua. I'm going to bring a bit more fawaid, inshallah, benefits for dua next week. And let me just take some questions. You can ask me questions, inshallah. 7:30 next week, 7:40. Yeah. Any asila, questions, clarifications?
7:30.
No, go on. Okay.
You mentioned at one point, you said fear the dua for oppressed. So does that mean you can make a harmful dua upon someone else?
Yeah, he can make any dua. He can make dua. If someone oppressed him, and he can make anything, he can say anything, death be upon him, whatever, because Prophet said, fear the dua of the madloom. Fear him. Whatever dua he's going to make, but fear his dua, he's going to be accepted. So it could be anything. So if you oppressed anyone, the ulama says, then ask him to forgive you. If you backbited him, the ulama said two things. If you tell him that, brother, I backbited you, and if you think he won't mind, okay, then tell him, please forgive me. Okay, you might think he didn't hear me, but it's on the book, it's written, Yawm al-Qiyamah, you have to face him. But if you think if I tell him that I backbited him, and that can cause a brotherhood break, then what the ulama says, Ibn al-Qayyim and others, make dua for him. Make dua for him and his family, and maybe inshallah, Allah will reconcile that between you and him. So so to backbite your brother is oppression, madloom. So so this is what the ulama said. If you can ask the brother to forgive you, things like that. Go on, Akhi.
You mentioned types of worship, so can you just recap
the worship of the ulama says that there worships of the heart, worship of the tongue, worship of the limbs, okay? And the worship of the heart, we have mentioned that to love Allah, to fear Allah Azza wa Jal, to have trust in Him. These are the worship of the heart, These are the worship of that. And the worship of the tongue is the reading Quran, making adhkar, these are worship of the tongue. And worship of the limbs is salah, zakat, hajj, jihad, all this, these are worship of the limbs.
Ustadh, you mentioned that if you make a dua, your qadr could change. Obviously, everything is written before you are born of what exactly will happen in your life. So does that change as well?
The hadith لا يرد إلا الدعاء لا يرد القدر إلا الدعاء. Prophet said that the qadr cannot be changed except through dua. So the importance, the power of dua, and dua is very powerful. So we should make dua, inshallah. That's what the hadith says. It can change your qadr.
What was the other type of wasila that you spoke about? The first type wajib to believe in.
Okay, wasila, tawassul ila Allah, to make wasila to Allah through names and attributes.
Not that one. I'm talking about I think it's the haram.
Haram is to go to righteous grave, the prophets, and to ask Allah through the righteous. This tawassul is shirk. We said we don't go to the righteous. We go to Allah Azza wa Jalla. We ask Allah.
You should be asking Allah through His names and attributes. And then the second one that you said that I missed,
which is through your righteous action.
Okay.
ربنا فآمنا, that's the ayah. You?
Shaykh, what was the statements of the Salaf regarding tawassul? You mentioned the Salaf spoke about.
The one I've mentioned is Shaykhul-Islam. He wrote a book explaining tawassul. He said two types of tawassul. One is we have to believe this tawassul, that Muhammad is the middle person between us and Allah. What does tawassul mean? Intermediary, someone middle. So when we make tawassul to Allah through the idols become tawassul to you. So you ask Allah through the idols, thinking they will hear you, benefit you, harm you, take your reward to Allah. This is not allowed because they cannot benefit you. So even Prophet ﷺ cannot benefit you. ﷺ passed away. So this tawassul, which is not allowed, to take the idol to the righteous, asking Allah through the righteous, this is forbidden. But the tawassul which we have to believe, a Prophet ﷺ is a tawassul middle person between us and Allah. So we have to believe that. He did receive revelation from Allah. He's the middle person. Allah is not going to reveal to us. We're not going to speak to Allah. Allah will speak to us through Muhammad, through wahi, revelation. That's the tawassul we have to believe. Part of aqidah. Is it okay? Yeah. Finish, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Allah